All right, Groves, welcome back. We're here in week 3 of our Grove session. I hope you're off to a great start, and I hope you've already had some fun discussion in your Groves today. And today what we're going to do is we're going to kind of go a different route. We're in the middle of kind of a 2-week span of lots of different things going on here at Rising Church between the men's retreat to Utah, the women's retreat going to Gatlinburg, the high school retreat coming up this weekend in Pigeon Forge. And so I know it might be a little wonky in some of your groves. Some people are going to be here, some people aren't going to be here. And what I want to do in your groves for this session is kind of really unpack what I would say with wisdom. When it comes to wisdom, as you've seen in Ecclesiastes, sometimes it's like these big overarching topics that, we talk about death or work or these different things, or trying to figure out what the value and purpose and meaning of life is and where you find peace and rest. And these kind of like big topics. But then Solomon also in Ecclesiastes, as he does in other books, he kind of zeroes in and he gives us what I like to call nuggets of wisdom. Which is actually kind of what most of the book of Proverbs is. It's just kind of like these little witty sayings that have a ton of wisdom in them for those who kind of have ears to hear or dig into them and kind of chew on them and figure out what they mean. And so he does that as well, not just in Proverbs, but he does it in Ecclesiastes. And there's a couple chapters where he just starts in his old age. Again, he's like looking back and he's like, here's all this wisdom that I've gained. I want to share it with the next generation, but I can't force them to, like I did when I was king and emperor, if you will, and I could just tell people what to do and coerce them, and this is what you're going to do, people. And now in his old age, he's learned that I can't do that when it comes to wisdom. And so when he writes Proverbs, he writes it to his son, in essence, saying, hey, would you listen to me as a father speaking to his kid? Because I want you to go a different direction. I want you to think differently about these things. And so that's what he also does in the book of Ecclesiastes. And so we have these little nuggets of wisdom. And so what I want us to do this week is we're going to unpack some of those, and it's kind of going to be, when you have these little nuggets, they kind of go all different directions. And so tonight's going to be kind of moving in a couple different directions, but kind of also moving in a theme direction. And so I kind of want to kick off by just reading you an example of this, because you're actually going to be looking at chapter 7 and unpacking some of that in chapter 7. I want to fast forward to chapter 10 because he says this in chapter 10, verse 1. He says, as dead flies give perfume a bad smell, so a little folly outweighs wisdom and honor. And so he's kind of giving this idea. He's like, look, you can have this beautiful, fragrant perfume, but can you imagine you open the bottle in the old school days? You kind of remember those old, like, fancy bottles, whatever, and you kind of look in there and there's like a cockroach in there, or there's a dead fly, or there's something in there. You're going to be like, ew, gross. Like, even though this thing has value and it's worth and it smells good, but it's got something dead in it, just a little bit, then you're not going to want it. It's kind of the same thing as if somebody gives you a nice, tall glass, refreshing cup of lemonade and just says, oh, there's just a little bit of dirt in there, or a little bit of arsenic in there, or something, like just a little bit. And that's kind of what he's saying, is like just a little bit of folly, it kind of outweighs wisdom. And so it's this idea again that you can't force somebody to have wisdom, but you can kind of convince them. And the idea is, what are you going to pick? In the end, are you going to pick wisdom or are you going to pick folly? In fact, in the book of Proverbs, it constantly speaks about wisdom personified, and she's personified as a woman, and she's calling out from the tallest, building in the city, and she's calling out to everyone, like, come to me, listen to me. I'm calling, I'm inviting, I'm summoning you out of the world and to myself to listen to me, because I want to help you, and I want to guide you, and I want to direct you. And if you've read Proverbs, you also, the same exact thing is happening with folly. And folly is calling out, saying, come to me, and calling and inviting and summoning towards her, but one leads to life and one leads to death. And so who are you going to listen to? And so right out of the gate, he's saying, hey, just a little bit of folly, going down that path towards folly, it's like it outweighs wisdom, because it leads to destruction, and then the wisdom doesn't help you at that point. And then he keeps going. He says, the heart of the wise inclines to the right, verse 2, but the heart of the fool to the left. He's like, there's two paths. And the wise person is going to listen to wise counsel, and they're going to choose this path. And the ones that aren't, they're going to go a different path. And then we get to this one, verse 3. He says, even as fools walk along the road, they lack sense, and show everyone how stupid they are. Kind of a funny little offshoot on this verse. I kind of circled it because Andy Brophy, he likes to tell people, like, if you think Aaron's like this perfect person and doesn't have any issues, doesn't have any problems, then just ride with him in traffic as he's driving, whether to an Atlanta United game or whatever else. Just like spend some time with him in the car, and you're going to realize, oh, okay, he's a real person. Because I get super frustrated at what I would call this verse, even as fools, instead of walk along the road, maybe they say they drive along the road, they lack sense and they show everyone how stupid they are. And I kind of go, well, this is justification for me getting mad in traffic because they're showing me how stupid they are by the way they're driving. But the bigger idea is that people, when they choose these paths, you can kind of see which direction they're going, and then you're going to be able to see, like if someone's a fool and they're choosing poorly, you're going to be able to see that in their life. You're going to be able to see that in their actions. They're going to show everyone how stupid they are and how they lack sense. And so it's kind of evidenced in our lives. And so, again, these are just some nuggets of wisdom. And so that's what we're going to be unpacking tonight in your grows, is this idea of who are we going to listen to? Which path are you going to choose? Are you going to be convinced by wisdom and follow wisdom and go down that path? Or are you going to go down the way of fools and suffer harm and lack sense and show everybody how stupid you may be? In that sense, it's up to you, because you can't force wisdom. You can only convince. And so wisdom and Solomon and God are calling and inviting and summoning us, saying, hey, will you listen to wisdom? Because this is going to be the better path. And this is going to lead to good. It's going to lead to a good name. It's going to lead to, a legacy. It's going to lead to all these different things. And so tonight we're just going to unpack just a few of these nuggets of wisdom in chapter 7 of Ecclesiastes. I think as you guys discuss and as you share your thoughts, some of them aren't going to be obvious, and so you're going to have to kind of dig and really think. But I'm hoping and praying that through this, as a grove and as a group, you're going to be able to kind of unpack some of this wisdom so that you can say, hey, I want to be convinced, and I want to listen to what wisdom has to say for my life and not just go the way of the fools. So hopefully this will give you a good start and you'll have a great session, and we will check back in with you next week.